Hello and welcome. Today I want to share a really personal story with you. It's about a learning breakthrough that took me, believe it or not, over 40 years to have. And it all ends with me doing something that most students would think is, well, completely unthinkable.
Yep, you heard that right. Every single one. It sounds like I just completely gave up, doesn't it? Like the final, bitter act of admitting defeat. But here's the thing, it was the exact opposite. You see, throwing those dictionaries away wasn't about failure. For me, it was kind of like my own personal graduation ceremony. It was the very last step in a very, very long journey.
So, just to be super clear, this is not a story about quitting. It's a story about how I finally got to a place where the tools I depended on for so long were just obsolete. And the funny thing is, this whole success story, it actually starts with a moment of total, crushing failure.
So my journey with English, it started just like it does for so many people all over the world, in a classroom. I spent years and years studying the traditional way, and I was absolutely convinced I was making progress. Turns out, I was just building up a complete illusion. I'm from Taiwan, and for more than a decade, this was basically my life. I mean, I really put in the hours. I memorized all the grammar rules, I aced my exams, I had the grades, I had the vocabulary lists. I honestly thought I was ready for the real world. And then came the moment of truth. Can you believe it? It was for a part-time job at an English tutoring company, of all places. The interviewer, a foreigner, he just asked me this simple, totally standard question. Can you briefly introduce yourself? This should have been a piece of cake. I had literally spent years learning how to do exactly that.
And I froze. Just completely. My mind went absolutely blank. For 5 agonizing minutes, not one single coherent sentence came out of my mouth. All those years of studying, all that knowledge, it just vanished. The embarrassment was, it was just crushing. And in that moment, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I hadn't truly learned English at all.
For years after that humiliating experience, I didn't really get any better. Then, much later in life, I kind of stumbled upon a completely new way of doing things. I found my secret weapon, and it wasn't in a textbook, it was in a daily routine.
So my first real attempt at immersion was what I'd call active study. And let me tell you, it was brutal. I tried to force myself to read the Economist magazine, but I had to look up like 90% of the words. It was a slog, totally unproductive. But then I found out they had an audio version, and I decided to try something that sounded kind of crazy. Background study. I would just listen to it, without even trying to understand.
This whole background study thing turned into this incredibly simple daily habit. I'd start at chore, usually washing the dishes, press play on this long podcast, and then I'd just focus on the chore. The key, and this is so important, was that I made zero effort to actually understand the words. I just let the sounds of English wash over me like background music. And the recipe for this whole method was really just 2 things: consistency and patience. Just 1 hour a day, every single day, for 2 years. It was this tiny habit that never really felt like studying because it was just part of my daily life.
Now think about that. Over 2 years, that little 1-hour habit added up to more than 700 hours of English immersion. My brain was just soaking it all in, the rhythm, the sounds, the vocabulary, all without me even consciously trying.
Honestly, I had no idea if it was working. I mean, there were no tests, no progress charts. I just kept at it. I trusted the process. And then, one completely ordinary day, everything changed. And this is the most incredible part. The progress. It wasn't gradual. It wasn't a slow climb where I got a tiny bit better each day. No, it was sudden. It was like a switch just flipped on in my brain. I was standing there at the sink, doing the dishes, podcast playing, just like any other day, when it happened. The sound wasn't just background noise anymore. I was actually following the articles. I could understand the economic analysis, the political debates. It was this unbelievable aha moment. My brain had finally, all on its own, connected all the dots. It just clicked. At that point, I knew I had stumbled onto something really powerful. This background study thing, it wasn't a fluke, it was a real replicable method. I've actually since used this exact same idea of passive listening to start learning several other languages too.
So, okay, I had finally achieved conversational fluency. But the story doesn't quite end there. The final, shocking realization, it came years later. And it brings us right back to where we started, my dictionary. Years go by, and I'm cleaning my bookshelf, and there they are, my old, thick English dictionaries, relics from my student days. I honestly hadn't opened them in years.
Just for fun, on a whim, I opened one up, I scanned a page, and I knew every word. I flipped to a random section right in the middle, same thing. I flipped all the way to the Z's. I understood it all. And I am not exaggerating, I knew the words in my own dictionary.
In that one moment, the dictionary totally transformed in my mind. It was no longer a tool I needed. It was like a monument, a souvenir from a struggle that was now officially over.
That's when I finally understood. My goal had been wrong the whole time. Real fluency isn't about being able to memorize a dictionary. It's about getting to the point where you don't even need one anymore. It's about living with a language, not just studying it. And with that final thought, I picked them up and I threw them away. My secret weapon was something as simple as washing the dishes, a small, patient habit that ended up making all the difference. So I guess I'll just leave you with this question. What's your secret weapon? What small habit could be the key to unlocking your own breakthrough? Thanks for listening.